guys. So everybody joining, thank you so much for being here. So we're just giving 30 seconds or so because I know sometimes it takes a few seconds to figure out Zoom. It's not always the easiest tool to get around. So we're just gonna give it a second so everybody can join the webinar. But for those that are already here, welcome, and it's a pleasure to have you here. Today I'm super excited because we're gonna be talking everything related to TikTok. And I'm super excited because as well I have one of my closest partner, Jordyn from 𝗕𝗏𝗃, which is one of the, I would say, the top solution out there when it comes to handling affiliate within TikTok. So we're going to be talking about, how you can leverage this tool on your daily operations, how you can find the best influencers, and how you can use and leverage that to scale your brand and TikTok. So Jordyn, pleasure to have you here. How you doing?
Awesome. Doing well, Vincenzo. I'm so excited to be here with you. I've known you for so many years now as an Amazon expert, a Walmart expert, and a TikTok expert. So excited
Yes,
to chat about TikTok and see what's going on in the US and the UK. And TikTok is expanding into way more marketplaces. So
I
it's
know.
just getting more exciting.
I know. I think TikTok is being, something, at least for us and Ecomcy, that we've been using so much now to help mitigate the competition we're experiencing on Amazon. And you see this, you come also from the Amazon space. Amazon's getting very, very competitive, especially with advertising. And TikTok has been the perfect vertical for us to find new avenues, not only to generate revenue, but also to diversify how we essentially find our traffic and try to mitigate the high cost per click, right? So, I think this is something that people should get on board 100%. Yeah.
100%. And like just speaking to Amazon, and I'll show you guys later, but like within Yuka, we've built some things in where you can track the impact that TikTok has on your Amazon halo effect, and it's pretty incredible. I know it's like we can give it maybe 2 more minutes, but I'm just
Yeah.
curious for those who are on the call, if you want to put where you are, what country you're in the chat, I'd be curious to hear where everyone is. I'm in Canada, Vincenzo is in London, so we're an international crew
Yeah.
today. So just would love to know where everyone is.
Yeah. Tell us where you're joining from. Because I'm
Yeah.
actually very curious to also see when it comes
Toronto.
to
Sean,
Toronto.
I'm in Toronto too. Let's go.
Cool, cool, cool. There you go.
Awesome.
Awesome. So for those also joining that are kind of intrigued in terms of what is going to be the agenda. So I'm going to be starting mainly with opportunity around cool. Oh, you guys have met already. Ah, no, you have to
No, no,
meet.
we're going to meet.
Good, good, good. So in terms of the agenda, so myself, just Alberta. Awesome, awesome.
A lot of Canadians.
My God, that's awesome. Cool. So just double down on what you were mentioning, Johnny. So I mean, when it comes to TikTok, of course, the conversation is always around the USA. But today I want to make a lot of emphasis in TikTok UK because I feel TikTok UK is being so underestimated when it comes to an opportunity to grow into essentially international markets. We see a lot of brands dominating TikTok UK because the competition is very low compared to TikTok USA. And I'm going to be talking about the opportunity, what are some of the things you have to consider, some of the strategies that are definitely working, and I'm sure you're also from your side, Jordan. You're seeing that TikTok UK has also been getting a lot of momentum, right?
TikTok UK is an underrated market, 100%. It's a lot of opportunities in TikTok UK, and many US clients are coming to us looking how to expand into the UK. Just less competition and so much opportunity.
Yeah. So now let me just put the screen, guys, so I can jump with my presentation and I can tell you more about that. So I'm just going to share my screen right now. Okay. Cool. So everybody should be able to see my screen right now. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about TikTok UK, and as we briefly just mentioned, I think the reason why we should be looking into this is I feel TikTok USA is definitely the place, if you're already in the USA, that you should be starting first. But for those already looking to international markets, specifically because with everything happening in the USA with the tariffs, that a lot of people, even with Amazon, looking to markets such as the European one with Amazon, TikTok as well, when it comes to the UK, can be a very good opportunity to diversify, but more importantly, to find a way for you to increase revenue with as less competition as possible. Because as I mentioned, a lot of categories in the UK are still very early stages, and you can take advantage of that when it comes to scaling into this marketplace. So let me give you a brief introduction about myself. Then we jump into the topic. So myself, I'm Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy. At Ecomcy, we are a full service agency for Amazon, Walmart, and TikTok brands. We've been in the space for over 7 years now. We have worked with over 1,000 brands, and with a team of over 80 people in-house, we do everything in terms of listener optimization, PPC, DSP, working with influencer, the TikTok side of things, the Walmart side of things, the Amazon side of things. So everything when it comes to these three marketplaces, that is key to essentially succeed and scale brands forward. With a portfolio over 100 million, we have essentially experimented a lot when it comes to these marketplaces, and all the things you're going to be seeing today are essentially coming from trial and error when it comes to experimenting with influence, experimenting with advertising, and really figuring out what can be impactful for you, especially entering into 2026. I also have a podcast called 𝗕𝗿𝗆𝘆𝗆, where I have some of the brightest minds, just as Jordyn, where we talk everything Amazon, Walmart, TikTok related. So I also welcome you to check it out if you want to stay on the loop of terms of what is the latest trends when it comes to scaling brands. So let's jump into the topic in terms of why TikTok and why in the UK, right? So when we have a look at the UK, and these are some of the numbers that already we're seeing in the UK, we're seeing that on average right now, and this is very similar to the US, but when it comes to Europe, this actually being very impactful in terms of how people is adapting TikTok, because it's relatively new compared to the USA. We have on average 90 minutes daily people spending on TikTok, and we are ready as of now stands in 2025. We have that TikTok has generated essentially over 15 billion when it comes to ad spend, right? And this is something that keeps growing year after year. We see TikTok investing a lot of resources when it comes to expanding into the UK in terms of opening new categories, allocating new tools, and essentially giving more resources to the brands jumping on the platform. And that also comes in the shape of traffic. We see that essentially everything when it comes to agencies that are really the biggest traffic in TikTok is essentially having a big shift, specifically in the UK. We actually see them using more TikTok compared to Amazon. And if you have a product that essentially is within that category, you're going to have a very easy journey in terms of scaling your sales within TikTok. Now, some of the things you have to consider is essentially the whole panorama of UK as a market, right? I would say the first one that I really like when it comes to essential as international market is the first one, the language. If you're coming from a market such as the Canadian one and or the one from the USA, jumping to TikTok UK is going to be very easy in terms of you don't have to do a lot of localization. I mean, of course, localization still has to happen because there's some cultural difference and things to consider, but it's so much easier to hit the ground running. On top of that, when it comes to essentially TikTok scaling your brand in terms of the whole ecosystem, something that we see is when it comes to essentially the budget that you had to allocate within TikTok compared to the USA, at least, we see that especially working with influencers is much more cost effective. Running advertising is cheaper in the UK. And also the thing that we see in the UK compared to the USA when around the content, the quality of content in the UK is so much lower than the USA. And for those that already have master content creation, when it comes to really having those 3 seconds master, the initial 3 seconds to have the hook and all the things that and video have to really engage. In the UK, I can tell you, you're gonna really knock it out of the park because the content here is miles away compared to the USA. And if you have a good product and you combine the tips that essentially you've been implementing and strategies in the USA, I can tell you, we're doing it daily with brands in the UK, and we're essentially blowing the competition away because the UK market is still very essentially early stages when it comes to the implementation of all these strategies. Now, some of the things I want to start going into the TikTok, right? And this is, again, other metrics that I think is going to be very important in terms of you understanding how TikTok is becoming very, very relevant in the whole space. So these things that you see in the space shows you actually how also the momentum of sales has been significantly impacting across the board. We see actually live streams in the UK having a significant essential performance across the board. And the reason why I want you to essentially be aware of this, it also goes a tie side by side with what I already mentioned. Like the first thing is content is very early stages, but the few people that doing actually live stream are having very high conversions when it comes to essentially in the platform. So we're seeing actually that the adaptation in TikTok in terms of how people is shopping in the UK is heavily now related to brands that are doing live streams. And this comes essentially from the whole perception of the fact that people now can ask questions, can really convey essential kind of Q&A regarding their needs. And I think more importantly, just to give you a tip as well, is the authenticity that we see actually being very important in the UK. What I mean by that is, if you're going to do essential TikTok in the UK, try to work with influencers that are based here in the UK, because at the end of the day, what some of the things you're going to find in the UK is that they're also trying to essentially connect with people from the same culture, especially the same kind of accent and things like that. So try to work with influencers that are based here, because something that we see is not working in the UK when it comes to live streams and all of that is try to use people from overseas or things like that. That's created a lot of distrust, and that's what's actually not allowing a lot of brands to scale in the UK. So if you take those things into consideration, you're going to have a much easier journey when it comes to scaling TikTok in the UK. Now, these are some of the things I also wanted to highlight in terms of essential numbers that we're seeing. So these are some of the brands that are now expanding into the UK. And you can see how some of them within a few hours, and this is actually being a crazy, like for example, made by 𝗕𝗄𝘆, right? We're talking that within a 12-hour live stream, they managed to launch over 100 products and they made 1 million in revenue in the UK. Then you have other brands such as Louise, like within 12 hours as well, 2 million in the UK. And these keep proving my point over and over again, that the adaptation of TikTok in the UK is being massive. In fact, we have a lot of brands, Amazon UK, that they were struggling when it comes to making sales. And the only way for us to survive was to essentially transition into TikTok, have a revamp strategy when it comes to live streaming, using influencers in the UK, and creating all those strategies when it comes to the hook and the content they already mentioned. And that has significantly shifted the game in terms of how now we drive revenue. In fact, for some of these brands that we actually shifting to TikTok, TikTok has become, at least in the UK, their main channel when it comes to sales. Of course, this is not for all the brands, and we're going to be talking more about that, but this shows you the power of how there's been a big shift in behavior of how people are shopping in the UK. So now, these are some of the things I will give you as a recommendation that is working at least for us when it comes to the UK. So the first one, it would be live demonstration. And I keep going to live stream because that's really what I see working the best for all of brands. So try, when it comes to start doing TikTok in the UK, create a whole blueprint of how you're going to do unboxing experience before and after, essentially videos throughout the day of how people is using the product, anything that has to do engaging with the product, because TikTok, as of now, is the only marketplace and platform in the UK that's allowing that kind of experience. Even myself, when I'm talking with my friends here in the UK, I'm based in London, I see what is the added value, because people essentially tired of buying products sometimes on Amazon or other marketplaces here in London, in the UK overall, where they're not having that first-hand experience with the essential brands. So try to invest a lot of that type of content when it comes to the live streams. The other thing is the affiliate side of things, which Jordyn is going to be telling you more about that. So in here, essentially, it's all about how you can leverage everything in terms of effectively finding the right fit for them in terms of the avatar, and making sure that you can essentially leverage the warm audiences that these influencers have in the UK. And then, of course, the partnerships. Like, I think the biggest win and the thing that also worked the most for us is in the UK is, once you start creating this affiliate program, try to make sure you create partnerships that go beyond the affiliates. So how you can make them ambassador, how you can make them people that essentially feel that they're part of the brand, and that they will recommend your brand beyond the pay they might get on every single referral. So now, when it comes to the strategy, right, and how we're gonna essentially enter the UK, because I want to give you the whole blueprint. The first thing is everything that you see in the screen, which is the legal side of things, because something you have to be mindful is, as we transition from the USA, for example, to UK, there's certain things that you have to have on point, right? The first one would be, you need to make sure your product is compliant when it comes to the UK. You need to make sure your packaging has everything compliant. The good news is the language, which I already mentioned, give it as English to English. Most likely the packaging is already compliant. But the other things also have to do with, for example, everything associated with the taxes of things. You would need to get a VAT number. You also would need essentially to deal with all the things associated with import. But again, this is something that you are already most likely experiencing if you're already expanding to all international markets. So it's nothing new to you. The second thing is localization. Very important that we localize. And the good news is that when it comes to localizing in the TikTok UK, a lot of the content, if you're already doing very good content in the USA, you can repurpose to the UK. There's certain things that you have to take in consideration because there's certain terminologies and things that might not translate as efficiently as you wanted to, but is essentially 80% of the work is already done. That's why for all of you that are already doing essentially TikTok in the USA, UK, it should be something that within max 6 months, you should have fully deployed, right? And then of course, is all the synchronization in the backend, which it comes down to making sure you have all your fulfillment on point, all your listings on point. I see some questions when it comes to the fulfillment, but then we can answer those towards the end of the webinar as well. Now, the affiliate side of things, I think this is where, and again, Jordyn is going to go more in depth when it comes to this, but we need to really make sure that we stop essentially the approach of one-off kind of influencer. If you have to take something out of this slide, is that something that really, really is consistent across all our brands that are successful is essentially the authenticity. But authenticity at the end of the day comes down to be consistent with your influencers. If you have the same 10 faces over and over promoting your product, that's what actually creates loyalty to the brand, because people start creating a connection with those people, right? That having 100, 200 random people that sometimes actually can be more harmful for you if the audience to that person maybe is not related to your price point, what you stand for, and so on. So you have to be very careful when it comes to that. And then of course, combining that with scale, that's really what is going to be the most impactful for you in terms of the long term. And I would say also be diverse with the type of influencer. Don't only work with the big guys, combine micro with mid-tier and macro, and that's going to give you a different kind of impact across the board and the type of audiences you can enter to. Now, some of the things I would also recommend, right, in terms of essentially how you're going to distribute your budget, right, is you want to focus as much as possible on essential video ads, right? So essentially what I'm trying to say is, of course, influencer is a very important part of it, but as soon as you start identifying the videos that are working, you're going to essentially run Spark ads on those kind of videos, because once you're able to achieve success within a bubble, in this case, the bubble is the audience of these influencers, you want to amplify that performance, because most likely, if that influencer had a very good audience, which you have already vetted, if you put money behind it and you run advertising, most likely now you're going to be able to reach a bigger scope when it comes to that. And I would say the most important thing when it comes to really understanding essentially how this is performing is focus on as much reach as possible. TikTok is a numbers game, and this comes down to views. The more views, the bigger the probability when it comes to essentially making sales, just as those that have come from the Amazon space, that it's all about how many clicks you get, which those clicks could convert into sales. So here's the same. Try to focus as much as possible on the pieces of content that goes as viral as possible, because that is what is really going to allow you to scale. And the final thing is adaptation. Another big mistake, and this actually applies even for TikTok USA. You need to make sure you stay on top of the trend when it comes to the music, when it comes to the hashtag, when it comes to the elements. And this is something that I see a lot of people not doing. They might have one successful video 1, 2, 3 months ago, and they keep only using that one. That's a big loss there. You need to make sure you create a lot of split testing, which with AI is easier than ever. And that's something that's also going to allow you to scale much faster when it comes to TikTok. Now, when it comes to essentially partnering and how you can, really get the most out of this. So this is a conversation I have with a lot of people, right? Because at the end of the day, TikTok is pretty new for most people, right? And if you try to do this on your own, this means if you try to essentially jump into the UK, especially if you don't have any previous experience with doing TikTok USA, it's going to be very tough for you to essentially understand how to find the influencers, how to run ads on the performing videos, how to put your catalog, how to deal with all the logistics of things. So that's where I really recommend everybody to work with certified TikTok marketing partners, people like ourselves, because that is going to make sure that you get essentially the ball running as fast as possible. because one thing you're gonna find on TikTok, especially if you start creating content on TikTok and you start creating essentially everything that potentially might not be going down the right direction. TikTok is a platform that if you don't do content good enough on your early days, that's going to penalize you long term, because then first of all the accounts are getting essentially bad kind of attribution in terms of data. We're actually starting to see that for some of the accounts that come to us after a year, they try themselves, but they put a lot of bad content, bad engagement, almost no views, almost no sales. It's being actually being more and more costly and more lengthy the process of fixing those accounts, that people started from scratch, that we do everything correctly from day one. So make sure you take that into consideration, because that's something that one way or another you're gonna end up paying. Now, how does it comes to really understanding maximizing your performance with a TikTok essential partner, right? In this case, an agency. So the first thing is the creative side of things. So, and this is something, by the way, everything I put on the screen, you can also do yourself if you have your team, but this is a process that we actually implement to get the most out of for the brands that we scale. The first one is the creative side of things, in terms of making sure you create as much content as possible aligned with the persona, the type of product, in the case, the demographics in the UK. So having a team in the UK, which is in this case ourselves, we really understand what people want to see, what they want to hear, and what they want to buy. So we make sure everything is essentially fully optimized on the go. The final thing is combining Spark ads with influencer campaigns. So that's where I'm telling you where really performance create a big snowball effect. Once we create these creative loops in terms of creating a lot of content, which has been localized in the UK, we then make sure that we run ads to essentially amplify all the content that's working good for you. Now, the thing with these ads, you have to be very careful in terms of how you set up the ads, what kind of budget you allocate, and what kind of campaigns you also consistently run on some of these videos. So that's where having a person that can essentially console you with that can add a lot of value. And the final thing, which is something that we do, and I recommend everybody to some extent do, is you need to understand, if you're doing TikTok UK, you need to understand how that's going to affect potentially your performance in Amazon UK. And this even for the USA, you need to understand whatever you do in TikTok USA affects your Amazon USA performance, because I can tell you for a fact there's a snowball effect. Like if you create a lot of content in TikTok, especially when influencers that have a very good audience, people is most likely not going to shop on TikTok. They're going to go on Amazon, they're going to look for your brand, and you need to understand how the money you put in TikTok essentially affects your Amazon. Because if you understand that, that's actually going to allow you to make smarter decisions in terms of how do I essentially divert money that is not working on Amazon to TikTok, where effectively I can lower my customer acquisition cost and get a better return on every single dollar I invest. And this is another thing that we show in terms of how UK in terms of performance is being working for some of our brands. So for example, usually, as I already mentioned, within 6 months, you should have a very essential a good growth on TikTok in the UK if you have the right product. Like here, for example, for this brand, it took us 6 months to go essentially from 0 to over 1 million. And the formula, guys, it wasn't rocket science, like you see on the screen. And this is exactly what we did. We essentially put all the catalog into TikTok, right? Essentially TikTok shop. We start finding all the affiliates and influencers that will be a good match. On top of that, we consistently did live sessions with these influencers. And on top of that, we created Spark ads on the pieces of content that these influencers were getting the most engagement. That combined with a good price point and a product that was quite unique, that is essentially what created the results that you see on the screen. So I know it sounds very simple. You might think how that could be me. I'm telling you, if you have the product and it is the right fit, these some of the results we're seeing already in the UK. The reason is very simple. People in the UK, at least from what we're seeing compared to the USA, is very early stages. So if you know how to use TikTok, like the results can be much faster than people are experiencing in the USA. And I would say the final thing in terms of things that you have to consider, and then I'm gonna give the word to my partner Jordyn, is what is the trend moving forward? I would say the thing that you really need to leverage is AI. And this is something that we at Ecomcy, we have put a lot of focus into. Like we have already our own kind of agents that on the go scrap data from competitors, what is working, what is not working, what kind of video creates the more engagement. Then we have tools that will create templates and A/B testing. But this is something that most of you might not have the resources or the knowledge to do, right? And that's the value of working with people like us. But if you want to do it yourself, please I beg you, make sure you invest time into using AI, because that's another thing. Brands are successful in TikTok. You know what is usually one of the key elements is the amount of content. It doesn't have to be the perfect content, it's the amount of content, because a numbers game. The more content you put out there, you are one piece of content away from being a viral, right? And the final two is essentially the expansion. Of course, we're talking UK now. If you're coming from the USA, UK is next, so UK, USA. So always try to go international. And the final thing is really understanding at the end of the day how you bring all these four circles. So understanding how all this live stream kind of extra ecosystem can be combined with your efforts in our marketplaces or retail, because that's really where you get the most out of it. And that's it, guys. Like, that's everything from me. And this is, of course, like a wrap up of everything. Like, I would say, make sure if you're not in the UK, check it out, start browsing in terms of what products work, what product don't work. So if you are not sure about that, feel free to reach out. I can help you validate those ideas. I think if you have an authentic essential product, an authentic kind of also storytelling, UK is definitely the place to be, because we're seeing that the amount of niches that have no authority and no authenticity are a lot. And if you're one of them, you're gonna have essentially such an easier journey compared than TikTok USA. So feel free to scan the QR code here in the screen. We're more than happy to jump on a call, have a conversation about how we can make this for you. But now I'm super excited to jump with Jordyn, because a lot of the things I mentioned today are going to be meaningless if you don't have the right influencers that essentially can help you scale the brand forward. And I'm sure she's going to give you a lot of insights about how you can use Eureka and some of the strategies aligned with that to get the most out of that. So, Jordyn, floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Vincenzo. Truthfully, the whole time you were speaking, I was like, that's a really good point. It's a really good point. And like you just hit the nail on the head time and time again.
Thank
Um, yeah, of course. Just want to like recap a few things that you said that are super important for everyone on the call. Vincenzo, you really hit the nail on the head with the US to the UK transition. If you're a brand that is already doing well in the US, the transition to the UK, it's really crazy. When you have that brand awareness, people are going to start searching for you in the UK, and it makes that transition a lot easier. The other thing that you said that was really true is about diverting money to TikTok. So it's important to look at, your e-commerce business holistically. And TikTok is the top of the funnel. It's the discovery engine. A lot of the time, people see your content, they learn about the product the first time they see it and they don't purchase it. And whether they go back on TikTok and purchase later, they go to Amazon, they go to D2C, that halo effect is real. A lot of the time, we don't take something in when we see it for the first time. So it's really about, using your ad spend right. There's brands like 𝗕𝗿𝗆 where they just put all of their money into TikTok shop and they get that natural Amazon halo effect. So it's really important to look at your brand and your products and to look individually and not think, okay, just because something worked for someone else on TikTok, it's going to work for you. But when you do get that great viral video that goes viral and you do get the sales on TikTok shop and the Amazon halo effect, it really balances out that whole ecosystem and moving around the money. So really, really well put, Vincenzo. And it's crazy to see what an engine TikTok has become for so many Amazon sellers.
Yeah, and just to double down on that, to be honest, like, because we also do TikTok USA, but if I have to tell you the market where we're seeing the fastest success in terms of going viral is actually UK, because we see that the competition is so much lower. So that means essentially you are entering into a market that a lot of these niches I mentioned, you're gonna be the only one selling there, and you can take over, you know. So
100%. Like for every 100 collagen brands in the US,
yeah.
it's like how many are in the UK, right? So that barrier to entry is so much easier in the UK. Um, yeah, just gonna double down and double tap on some of the things Vincenzo spoke about. I'll do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Jordyn Levine. I'm the director of growth at 𝗥𝗲𝗍. I also came from the Amazon space and the D2C space, working with a lot of brands who were spending a lot of money on ads. So really interesting to see the way, funds have shifted into ads to creators with TikTok Shop. I've been on every side of the table. So I've been an Amazon seller, creator, and on the SaaS side. So really have a great perspective into connecting the dots of what brands need and what creators want to really make that flywheel work. Because ultimately, if you're going to have a successful brand on TikTok Shop, you need brand ambassadors, creators who are pushing your content, and they really become part of your business. So that's my mission here, is to help brands understand what creators need and creators to understand what brand needs so everyone can win together. So I'm going to talk about building your affiliate army and optimizing and automating your creator outreach. So once you have your TikTok set up and you're ready to go, the number one thing you need to do is to get samples in creators' hands. You need to send samples out at scale so creators have your product, can post content, and to automatically give you sales. So a really big thing, and Vincenzo spoke about it, is finding the right creators. We could have an incredible creator who sells tons and tons of supplements, but then you have a product for toys, and that creator is not going to be the same creator that sells to the toy audience. So it's really important to find creators who have the audience that you're looking for. So what we need to do is we need to start with data. Identify creators who are already driving GMV in your category. If you are selling a supplement, let's look for other creators who are already promoting supplements. They have a proven audience that is going to buy that product. Once you figure out who we're going to target, we need to automate that process, which 𝗥𝗲 allows you to send up to 2,500 invites and 1,500 DMs a day. So rather than manually scrolling and finding the right creators, within 𝗥𝗲, you can automate that process. So ultimately, we want you to find the right creators, automate the process of constantly reaching out to them and personalizing at scale. So many brands use automation tools like 𝗥𝗲, which means creators are getting so many messages a day. So we need to be cognizant of that and ensure that we're sending personalized messages to creators that are going to turn their heads and get them excited to respond to you rather than the thousands of other DMs sitting in their inbox. And then a really important piece here is replacing manual follow-up. So creators aren't going to respond to your first message when they're getting 2,000 a day. So it's important to continuously follow up with creators and to make sure that they remember where you are and that you stay present and top of mind. Once you have those great creators, you have creators who are posting content, their audience is engaging, we have sales converting, it's really important to incentivize and manage your creator network. There are brands who send samples to a creator, the creator posts one sample, never hears from the brand again, and then they just look at the new DMs they're getting and the new invites they're getting. So it's really important to continuously challenge and incentivize your creators. The best brands have creators that are constantly engaged in posting. Really important to engage with your creators. So once you have a sample on the way, send them a message, a creative brief. Welcome to our community. Here are some best practices. You can run contests and challenges, leaderboard challenges, have your creators get active, have them get competitive and try to get to the top and win prizes from you. Companies like 𝗕𝗿𝗆 are giving out Cybertrucks. And as crazy as that sounds, they're making so much money because they have so many creators who are so excited to win that Cybertruck that they have a great return on investment. So that really just proves how important it is to keep creators engaged because they will work when they're excited for something. Also, really important to identify your top creators, know who you need to double down on, know who you give your attention to. If you have a creator who's posting great videos every single week, maybe that's a creator you want to offer a paid collab. It's important to consistently engage with these creators so you don't lose them in your funnel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my screen here and I'm actually going to give you a walkthrough of 𝗥𝗲 and show you how brands use 𝗥𝗲 to find the right creators, what other marketplace they are in. So 𝗥𝗲's live in the US, the UK, France, and Germany, and many other marketplaces coming soon. So I'm going to give you guys a quick little walkthrough here. Within 𝗥𝗲, we have social intelligence. So this allows us to do research on other brands. So I'm going to pretend for the purpose of this demo, I'm a collagen brand. I'm getting started on TikTok Shop, and I'm going to show you exactly what we would do. As a new collagen brand coming into TikTok Shop, I'm going to look at all of the top brands and all of the top products on TikTok Shop. So we can see every single brand, every single product, and their sales. So we're going to type in collagen. And here I find 𝗕𝗿𝘆𝗆𝘀, a great collagen brand. They've done 3.6 mil. They're doing great. So we're going to click into this brand. And here we can see all of this brand's products and all of the videos featuring this brand. We're going to click in here to this collagen peptides brand product. And now what we're going to do is we are going to see every single video featuring this brand. So every single video here is a creator who's posted for this collagen product. And we know that every single one of these creators have an audience who's buying collagen. So these are great creators for us to target. We can even filter through these creators and see who posted for 𝗕𝗿𝘆𝗆𝗀 and has generated at least $1,000 in GMV in the last 30 days. and we can save a list of these creators. So I know that when I'm reaching out to these creators, I can be hyper personalized and hyper targeted. Love the content you've done for 𝗕𝗿𝘆𝗆𝘀. We think you'd be a great representative for our brand because you have that audience. So what we can do is we can add creators to list and determine lists of creators we want to target. So I'm going to call this collagen. And then once we reach out to creators and send them samples, it's really important that we're setting them up for success with creative briefs, giving them do's, don'ts, best practices, any compliance guidelines, things that can and can't be said. So one of my personal favorite features of 𝗏𝗏 is scraping the top selling points in video hooks. So right here, clicking in, we see this guy. He got 1.9 million views. He generated 3.3K of revenue. Here's the key idea, the video hook, the selling point, and the transcript. You can super easily copy this and repurpose this and give this to your creator as a creative brief and say, hey, this video generated $3,000. Why don't you try using this key idea, this video hook, and you can generate that same $3,000. So that is something you can do with the 𝗏𝗏 social intelligence to really gain competitor insight. Something else we can do is we have the AI creator search. So this lets us scrape visually. So let's type in, let's say we have a female collagen brand and we want to target women who like collagen. I just did a quick search here and typed up woman collagen. And this is going to visually scrape TikTok and audio scrape TikTok for any woman who's posting about collagen. So there's a ton of different brands coming up here. But same thing, we can add creators to list. So when we're reaching out to creators, we're targeted and we're personalized. So those are two different ways where you can find the creators you want to reach out to. And I'm going to show you how you can actually reach out to them at scale. So 𝗏𝗏 has automated agents that do the outreach on your behalf. So you can ultimately come into 𝗏𝗏, set up who you want to reach out to, what you want to say, and then our agents are going to do that work on your behalf so you can focus on all the other areas of your business. First thing I'm going to do here is show you how we create an agent. So you can set up a target collab and message, a target collab only, tons of different types of agents. I'm going to show you a target collaboration and message. This allows you to send a target invite and a DM to the creator at the same time to build context. Once you select how you want to reach out to creators, you can select which creators you want to reach out to. So we have a few different options. We can go by lists and grab that collagen list and reach out directly to those creators who have promoted collagen. Or we can just filter for all creators on all of TikTok Shop. So with the same collagen female in mind, I'm going to look here at different categories. So we're going to look at beauty and personal care, and we're going to look at health. So creators posting in beauty and personal care and health would be a great fit for collagen. We want to look at last month's GMV. We want to make sure we're working with creators who have been doing this for a little while. Let's look for creators who have generated at least $500 in the last month. Here we can filter for follower count, post fulfillment rate, so creators who are actually posting the videos that they say they will. Creator ethnicity. So this is really interesting for skincare brands. They want to get really granular. We can look at the creator's promotion performance score, creator gender, creator language, Spanish, English, follower age, follower gender, video performance, average shoppable views, average live views. So we can get pretty granular with who we want to reach out to here. So now we have who we want to reach out to, and we set up the target invite. So you can very easily select if you want to manually review requests, auto approve requests. You pull in the product directly from TikTok that you want to ask creators to promote. You set up the commission that you want to offer the creators here. And here you set up the message to go out to the creators. You can customize this message. So that's the beauty of being able to go for targeted lists. You can say, love what you are posting about collagen. You would be a great fit for my brand. And oftentimes creators don't respond to that first message. So we have automated follow-ups built into 𝗏𝗏. So you can set it up after 2 days. If the creator doesn't respond, they get another custom message from you. After 3 days, another custom message from you. So ultimately here, what we've set up is who we want to reach out to, how we want to reach out, the commission that we want to offer, and the messages we want to send. And then you can click create agent, and that cadence will start going out. You can hit start, and all of those messages will start going out. And then you'll see at the top here, a list of your target invites sent, your messages sent, and always have an overview of where you are. You can always look at your main dashboard and see filter by different agents, filter by different products, and see a high-level overview of your target invites, your messages, your follow-ups, your email sent, and your affiliate GMV. You'll always be able to see who your top affiliates are, the top videos in your niche, and your affiliate funnel. So really easy to get that high-level overview. I'm going to jump into the affiliate CRM, and this is really where brands can get to the next level. So, this is kind of what I spoke about earlier when I mentioned engaging with creators after you send them the sample. So, you can set up different automations. So, you can have it so every single time you have a creator with a sample and shipment, they get an automated welcome message from you that's going to say, "We've approved your sample and it should be arriving soon. We're excited to collaborate." That is a way of keeping creators engaged and letting them know that you exist. Um, Same thing here. Every single time you have creators with content pending, we can have a message go out saying, "Hey, waiting on your post, looking forward to seeing it." When you have revenue generating creators, you can set it up so every single time a creator hits 5 sales, they get a message saying, "Hey, we want you to join our Discord community for VIP creators." There's all these different ways. So imagine these as little buckets, and every single time something happens on the back end, we move the creators from bucket to bucket and then automate the engagement. So that's a way that you can always keep communication with your creators. But you can also get even more exciting and run contests and incentive programs. So this is what a lot of, those big brands do. 𝗕𝗿, Mary Ruth, they're running so many incentive programs for their creators because everyone knows the 𝗕𝗿 and Mary Ruth. Creators see dollar signs and they all want to work with Mary Ruth and 𝗕𝗿. So what they have to do is they actually have a different challenge where they need to ensure that they have revenue generating creators, not just everyone and their mom who wants to post one video and then forgets. So what they do is they run a lot of contests for their creators, and I'm going to show you exactly how they do that. So within 𝗏𝗏, you can set up different kinds of contests. You can do a posting challenge, challenging creators to post the most. You can do a GMV challenge, challenging creators to actually generate GMV. You can do a leaderboard contest. I'm going to walk you through a posting challenge and how you can set that up directly within 𝗏𝗏. So you can say to your creators, "Hey, I want you to make 20 videos. For those 20 videos, I'm going to give you a cash reward of $100. But in order to get that $100, I need your videos to generate me at least $70. This is a really good way of ensuring you have creators posting good content that's driving revenue, not just tons and tons and tons of bulk, not so good content. You can make it more challenging and even create tiers and say, "Okay, cool, you did that. Next challenge. 40 videos for $200, and then change the minimum to $150. So lots of different ways you can set this up, and you can even make this a recurring contest, which almost creates like a paid collaboration. You're saying, "Hey, every week I want you to do X. I'll pay you $100 if you generate 70." So it's a unique way to re-engage great creators who you want to keep promoting content for you. And the nice thing is, when you have creators who are posting multiple times for you, you're saving money on samples too, because you're not having to keep reshipping samples depending on your product. I'll walk you through creating the rest of the contest here. So you select the contest name, contest link, a little information here. You do a contest hashtag, and then you can ultimately review and publish the contest, create the contest for your creators. So you can create an agent to send the contest out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the exact link that those creators get. And this is what it looks like. So they get a picture of your product, your brand, and then the prizes. And then they can basically click in here and post their submissions, and they can post multiple submissions as well. And they can see the prizes. And then the great thing is, which a lot of finance teams like, is that 𝗏𝗏 can actually manage all of the payouts for you. So we can handle the creator payouts, taking that off of your plate. So making it super easy for the creators to join the contests. I'll show you a few other things that we have within 𝗏𝗏 that really allow it to be a CRM and allow you to have an understanding of where everything in your business sits. So you'll always be able to see an overview of all of your creators, the tags, the status, the product sample, the videos posted. So you'll always be able to see, okay, this creator posted this, this is the products they sampled, these are the videos they posted, this is the GMV. So you'll always be able to understand where your creators are sitting in your cycle. The other piece I'm going to show you is our creator marketplace. So we also have a 𝗏𝗏 creator community. Think of everything I just told you as the meat and potatoes of 𝗏𝗏, and this is the side salad. So this is another option that we have where we have a creator marketplace of creators who are generating 10K a month in GMV, and these are VIP creators who we can connect you with for paid collaborations. So people who are looking for L3, L4, L5 creators and might have a harder time getting a hold of those creators, we can offer them a paid collaboration. And same thing, Yuka manages the contract, we find the creators, and then we set them up with the brands. So within Yuka, you have the ability to reach out to creators in bulk. You have the ability to get really targeted, but you can also do paid collaborations in Yuka. So those are a few of the things you can actually do within Yuka. And I'm going to walk you through a little bit of the contests and how that works, because it's always exciting to hear when brands have a ton of success with contests, but I want to actually walk you through how that happens. So here's an example of a contest that 𝗦𝘁𝘆 did with Yuka, and it was a CPM contest. So their goal was to get views. They weren't focused on GMV, they weren't focused on bulk. They really just wanted to get as many views. So they said to their creators, hey, we're going to give you $4 for every 1,000 views, which sounds like a lot of money they're going to be putting out there. And some of the highlights from this contest were they had 676 participants, 17 million total views, and it was a 39% GMV lift just from doing this contest because all of these creators just wanted a chance to win that $4 per 1,000 views. So creators are getting more excited to join rather than just posting traditional content. And this produced 7,500 videos in this contest. I'm going to walk you through these numbers a little bit more. And what this also did was it re-engaged 136 creators. So these are 136 creators who didn't need new samples sent to them. They already had the product and they were excited about the chance of winning $4 per 1,000 impressions. And they all jumped back into posting for 𝗦𝘁𝘆 when they hadn't done that before. And this is, if you look at the bars down here, we're showing you the number of videos posted. So if you look at July, if you look at the left side of my screen here, looking at July, 77% more videos were posted in August than July from having this contest. 657% more total views of videos posted and 39% more revenue of videos posted. So when we went to this slide, it kind of sounded crazy, $4 for every 1,000 views. But when we go to this side and we actually see the impact that that challenge had on the brand, it's pretty incredible. And it makes sense to why 𝗦𝘁𝘆 continues to invest in contests. They see the ROI because they have such a large pool of creators who are getting excited. So this is really to identify how much creators appreciate being engaged, right? Like these are 136 creators who probably have tons of target invites, tons of brands that they can work with. But because 𝗦𝘁𝘆 proactively reached out and said, hey, we're doing a contest, they were able to get people re-engaged. So that all goes back to my point about the segments and that the brands that have the most success on TikTok Shop are the brands who are engaging their creators the most. So two little case studies there, but that really wraps up everything I wanted to share about Yuka. And just to reiterate, Yuka can be used in multiple marketplaces, and we have a ton of data. And then we also have that Amazon Halo Effect tracker. So that's the last thing that I'm going to show you guys, because it's really interesting to see the impact that we can actually have on Amazon. 2 seconds. So I'm having a screen share issue here. Okay. So just to show you guys one more thing, we can go into here and we can actually plug in your Amazon API and see how your TikTok is affecting your Amazon sales. So what we do is we're pulling in your Amazon sales, your TikTok video views, your TikTok sales, and your top sponsored branded keywords and seeing the increase on those keywords correlated with the sales. So when you see a video go viral, often we'll see that spike on Amazon. And we kind of know in our head, hey, that video did really well. That's why this Amazon is killing it. But this is a really good way to be able to visually identify the spikes that are going on. And that is what we call the halo effect.
Love it. Thank you, Jordyn. Yeah, I mean, that one right there is such a hidden gem because, to be honest with you, this is something that until now we've been doing kind of manually, try to do it before and after and trying to figure out how TikTok is influencing the impact on Amazon. But the fact that now within a few clicks, you can see it is such a game changer because we all know TikTok is definitely going to impact Amazon and you need to be aware of it so you understand how to keep investing money,
100%. And That's why, for Amazon sellers, TikTok is such a cool opportunity because it's so demonstratable, right? Like on Amazon, if people don't really know your product, they don't know what they're searching for. Whereas TikTok is so good for top of funnel because you can actually see what a product does. And it might make you want to buy something that you would never have searched for. So that is why like TikTok is such an important discovery engine. Even if you're not generating a ton of GMV on TikTok Shop, it really will impact your Amazon business and you can track all that within Yuka.
Yeah. And I think you also highlighted something there that it was super, super interesting, which is, the opportunity of engaging with influencers, but without essentially having so much risk in your hands to essentially, wasting your budget. I love the feature that you essentially are willing to pay only if you see results, right? Which is something that in the past, it was very difficult to manage on your own when you were working privately with some of these influencers. They will give you 50 video, 100 video, but pretty much zero sales. So now you can essentially say, yeah, you're going to get the money, but I need to see the numbers.
Exactly. Show us some action and we'll give you the money. So I think a lot of brands love that feature because no one wants to pay out creators who aren't
Yeah,
generating revenue. It's
because
kind of
people want to
sucks.
pay. I mean, I'm willing to pay 1,000, whatever, but I want to see the sales. I don't want to pay and then there's nothing like in return. Yeah.
That's exactly it. And like I feel like that's what like, Mary Ruth Goldie, they've created an engine for themselves where people want to post because they know they're gonna win.
Yeah.
Um, so I think like that's something that all brands can do is, like cultivate that culture where people are like, oh my God, I want to be part of this brand, and they're gonna be so much more excited to win.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool, guys. So I guess we have 10 minutes left. So we're just going to open some Q&A. I think we have some question in here from Brand regarding fulfillment. So when it comes to fulfillment, we're getting asked here if we can fulfill essentially from your Amazon order. So yes, at the beginning, I mean, you can definitely do this, and there is some solutions out there that we'd recommend. There's one called 𝗕𝗶𝗍𝗆. At least here in the UK, we have used that in the past. But if I'm honest with you, I usually try to just do that at the beginning when I'm testing the waters, and then I try as soon as possible to really find my own 3PL solutions, because Amazon not necessarily likes when you're essentially fulfilling other marketplaces, and at scale it gets very costly as well. So yeah, at the beginning, definitely 𝗕𝗶𝗍𝗆 is a very good option. But I don't know, Jordyn, if you have some other insight you want to share with that, with the fulfillment side of things, if there's something else.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Vincenzo. I also think like I've spoken to so many brands who have had a video go viral, and then they have to send all their Amazon stock to TikTok
Yeah,
Shop. So you want to make sure that you want to make sure that you're ready for the best situation and you're ready for the worst situation because the last thing you want is to tie your TikTok stock to Amazon and then you lose your Amazon ranking. So it's important to be prepared for TikTok to have their own inventory, but you can definitely use MCF and like different integrations at the beginning. But I think like once you start seeing some traction, you definitely want to be able to manage your TikTok inventory on its own.
cool, cool. We also have a question here regarding recording. Yes, we're gonna be actually sending this recording to all the people that register, and also we're also then gonna publish on all the social media channels, so you can also catch up on that if you're joining later throughout the live. Okay. I think while we wait for more questions, I have a question for you, Jordyn. Like, this is something I get asked a lot, and maybe I'm sure you do as well, which is how many influencers I should start with. This is a very generic question, but I'm sure you get it every single time. How many influencers I should work with? And the second one is how much budget I should have like.
So it depends on where you're coming into the game. If you're a brand that already has brand recognition, you're a $50 million brand and creators know your name, it's a bit different. But I think for a cold start brand coming onto TikTok Shop, it's really important to go as broad as possible. Send out a ton of target invites, see who comes back and wants to work with you, and then vet through those and manually accept sample requests at the beginning. I think at the beginning, you want to go as broad as possible because I was speaking with someone at TikTok, and I think they said like the best creators that are going to build your brand are between 10 and 20K GMV. They're not the ones doing 50K because those creators are getting a little fancy
Exactly.
and they want the paid collabs. The creators who are going to, build your engine on TikTok Shop are going to be those mid-tier creators. So you want to go as broad as you possibly can. Set up a bot very targeted. So reach out to everyone promoting collagen, but also reach out to everyone who could potentially promote collagen. And I think it's really important to trial and error, try different things. But at the beginning, you want to go as broad as possible, get samples to as many hands as possible, because not all those videos are going to convert. And we want to just go broad and then dial in once we see what's working.
Love that. Yeah. And I think also to double down on that, I think a very important thing that you also want to do, which is, I mentioned that on the presentation, is you also want to avoid the vicious cycle of trying different influencers on a monthly basis, and you never essentially stick to anybody, because I don't know if you see this, but this also has created issues where people essentially don't build any loyalty because it's always random people and you don't have kind of ambassadors as well. I don't know if you also advise to kind of start finding influencers that you keep consistently bringing on board, right?
100%. How many, curious to ask you, Vincenzo, like how many samples do you typically recommend cold start brands are sending out at the beginning?
We're very aggressive. Like usually,
What I like to hear.
minimum, I say 500.
Yeah, okay. I'm totally with you.
Yeah,
Sometimes we say those numbers and people get a little bit scared, but
yeah,
I think the truth is you have to spray and pray a little bit at the beginning.
yeah,
Creators, they see dollar signs. When they see zero GMV, they're not excited.
yeah,
So we have
yeah,
to just like think 500 samples, get it out as much as
yeah.
possible, and then find 30 who are crushing it and put
Exactly.
those guys on challenges. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's definitely the same approach that I recommend to brands.
cool. And I guess a final one will be in terms of timelines. How long you will say people should try something like this until they make the decision if it makes sense or not? Because I also get this question all the time, even with Amazon and other platform. Like, should I test this for a month, 2 months, 3 months? What is your take?
My take is TikTok Shop, it's a marketing engine. It's a discovery, it's a marketing engine. Typically tell brands like it's very, very possible to break even month 3, month 4. The first bit is introducing your products. And I think, you have to look at it overall, right? Maybe it'll increase your Amazon halo effect. Maybe it's going to increase your Shopify sales. But it depends on the category, depends on the brand. But I usually say like break even month 3, 4.
Cool, I agree. Same for us is the same. Month three at least, because I mean month one. I get this all the time. People within first month they want to go viral already. It's like we just send in the samples. Give us. You need to wait for people to create the content and everything. So yeah.
Exactly. And I think honestly, it's the brands that understand it are the brands who are the most happy and successful, right? Like no one wants to think it's going to work in month to month. You're just going to
Yeah.
get disappointed. So as long as you understand TikTok Shop, it's a different game than Amazon. It's a bit of a long game, but you do have the ability to go viral overnight, which you don't have on Amazon. So
Yeah.
you got to take some and lose some.
Awesome. Lover Journey. So it's been a pleasure. And for everybody in here, thank you so much for joining us live. And for those that are watching the recording, thank you so much for also sticking until the end. It's been a pleasure to have you on the webinar today. And before we end, is there any last piece of wisdom you want to share with us, tip or anything?
I think my last little piece of wisdom would be for anyone who's on TikTok Shop, don't forget about your creators after they post their first video.
Exactly.
Make sure you continuously re-engage them. And that's how you're going to build a social army and true brand ambassadors.
Thank you, Joanne. That's amazing. And for everybody, also find all information below in terms of how you can reach out and work with both of us. It's been a pleasure to have you all in here, and see you in the next one. Please make sure you take action, because I'm telling you, for what I'm seeing, 2026 is all about social commerce. You need to stay ahead
Yes.
of the game. And this cute code you see here in the screen, make sure you use it.
There you go. Yeah, if you want to scan that barcode, take a screenshot. It will give you 20% off Yuka until the end of the year.
Awesome. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jordan. It's been a pleasure. Okay. Bye,
Awesome.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank you for
everyone.
joining. Bye bye. See ya.
Bye.